We invite you to be part of our group for a few minutes at CAESAREA Maritime on the shore of the Mediterranean Sea in Israel. This is a city built by Herod the Great shortly before the time of Jesus. The architecture is stunning, and the engineering is far ahead of its time. Let's take a short 360-degree tour. If you look straight east in this shot into the sun, you see a long brown sandy stretch with a bank of stone bleachers behind it. This was the hippodrome during Herod's time. If you look just to the right and closer where our group is standing, you are in part of Herod's palace, perhaps part of a formal room where kings and governors held court or received important guests. This site has a small plaque indicating that perhaps it was in this very room that Paul made his defense before King Agrippa II, his wife Bernice, and the procurator Festus in Acts chapter 26. Further to the right, in the background, you see a white building, behind which is the famous amphitheater of Caesarea. A little more to the right, looking south, between columns from Herod's time, you see part of the gardens of the palace, and then further to the right, we look west over the gorgeous Mediterranean Sea. Just beyond the columns near the shore are more remains of the palace, including the Olympic-sized freshwater swimming pool he built, extending out into the sea. And then as we look more to the right, straight north up the shore, we see the southern breakwater of the Caesarea harbor with its revolutionary building techniques. And then we're back to the hippodrome. Two other biblical events occurred here. The first was in Acts 10, when Peter was sent by God to Caesarea to share the gospel with Cornelius, opening the kingdom to the Gentiles. The second was in Acts chapter 12, when Herod the first spoke to the people of Tyre and Sidon, who exclaimed that this was the voice of a God and not a man. When he didn't deny it, the Lord struck him down, and he was eaten by worms and died. One other important event occurred here which has impacted us and millions of other Christians. Before Paul appealed to and was sent to Caesar, he was confined in Caesarea for 2 years. Think how frustrating that must have been for him. He'd had at least 15 years of productive ministry, planted churches, trained leaders, preached the gospel in much of his world, and yet he was stuck here in prison. He must have asked God, "Lord, what can I do here in prison? Write letters?" Yes. And because he did, he influenced more people in the history of the church than anyone else perhaps besides Jesus. We don't know if any of the churches he helped plant still exist, but we do have his teaching and thoughts from this prison and others. Just another example of how the Lord can use anything for good to those who love him and are called according to his purpose.